Nature has always been one of the most popular attractions in Finland, and the Lemmenjoki National Park is no exception. Situated in northern Europe, this fascinating wilderness is still a place of freedom and adventure. Here, far from the hustle and bustle of modern life, one can enjoy the power and beauty of nature, but also experience the simpler things in life. In Lemmenjoki, each season has its own special kind of charm, but it's the summer months that attract most visitors. When the indigenous flora of Lapland begins to bloom and acts as a colourful backdrop to the surrounding landscape. The most impressive and also the most comfortable way to travel through the park is by boat, as the scenery is, in the main, totally natural and thus has few marked paths. Along the 20-kilometre long river section of the Lemmenjoki between Jõgulahti and Kaltasasama, that are situated on the periphery of the park, there is a regular boat service. Motorboats are a popular way of enjoying the scenery. Covering 2,855 square kilometres, this protected area around the Lemmenjoki River in the extreme north of Lapland is the largest national park in Europe. The Lemmenjoki River Valley is the central area of the park. In this relatively developed region, it's possible to follow the course of the river by foot on one of the few pathways that exist. Despite the hostile climate of the long winter months and the remoteness of this area, the river valleys along the Lemmenjoki have been inhabited by man for thousands of years. The course of the river has evolved over several millions of years by way of a fissure that appeared during the movement and displacement of the Earth's tectonic plates. Subsequent ice ages continued to shape the valley. The huge masses of ice withdrew only 10,000 years ago, left behind a large number of rivers and long, narrow lakes. Water, numerous swamps and vast forests have formed the scenery that we see today. The most beautiful and idyllic areas are located in the center of the park. Vast pine forests are part of the natural scenery in Lemmenjoki. And in the southern sections of the park, birch trees and spruces are part of its indigenous flora. Visitors are permitted to travel freely throughout the park, provided, of course, that they treat it with respect. Only the park's official motorboats are allowed to be used. But whether travelling by canoe, rowing boat or on foot, a relaxed pace makes Lapland's magnificent landscape even more enjoyable. A large area of the park consists of pure wilderness. There are no footpaths or refreshment facilities in this region. Here, visitors must fend for themselves. For many of those who come here, the charm of this region lies in the freedom of its wilderness, even though the terrain is far more challenging here than in the centre of the park. After several kilometres of travelling along the river, it's time to explore the natural beauty of the park close at hand. While the boats leave to collect new passengers elsewhere, those who have disembarked begin to discover the vast forest wilderness by foot. In a short time, we have our first spectacular encounter with the local fauna. A frequent sight, the elk has an impressive shoulder height of up to 2.3 meters and is the largest member of the deer family. The vast, cold, continental forest areas of the Lemmenjoki National Park and also its rivers provide ideal living conditions for its plants and wildlife. Lapland's unique flora has fascinated man for several centuries. In 1732, the famous botanist Carl von Linné travelled into the extreme north to collect plants. Further scientific expeditions followed because, although the winters are long and cold, there's an amazingly rich variety of flora here. Even though they're often overlooked because of their rather inconspicuous appearance, grey lichen are one of the most unusual and also the most common features of this region. They cling to many of Lapland's rocks and stones. The lichen live in symbiotic communities, meaning that two different kinds of growth, as in the case of lichen, for example, both fungi and algae, form a community in which they can thrive. Leaving behind the extraordinary features of the land, the journey continues into the wide expanses of Lemmenjoki's waterways. river attracted a great deal of attention at the beginning of the 20th century. But those who came here were not interested in the natural beauty of this area. It was a gold rush that suddenly drew people to the Lemmenjoki River. Hoping to make a quick fortune, gold prospectors and adventurers poured into the previously isolated and tranquil forests of Lapland. As early as 1868, an expedition on the Lemmenjoki River in Finnish Lapland first came across this much-prized metal. For many years, today's park was the sole domain of the Sami, Scandinavia's original inhabitants, and was used by them as a traditional hunting ground, and also as grazing land for their reindeer. Archaeological discoveries revealed that the Sami survived by hunting as well as trading in reindeer, much as they do today. In addition to tourism and fishing, the breeding of reindeer is still one of the most important sources of income for the Sami people. The beginning of the gold rush on the Lemmenjoki and the activities of the gold prospectors were not without their problems. The region's previously undisturbed wildlife was affected more than anything else. Up until the 1950s, the search for gold in Lemmenjoki was undertaken by manual labour, but was later replaced by machines. This caused a great transformation. The gold prospectors' euphoria that had been experienced in the legendary Wild West seemed to have moved to Europe, but soon disappeared when mechanical digging began. Since then, those who travel to the north of Finland don't come here for the gold, but for the beauty of nature, the untouched scenery, and the impressive variety of North European vegetation. Others come here to enjoy the park's wonderful walks. The official paths in the centre of Lemmenjoki are not quite as demanding as those elsewhere. In addition to the picturesque and extremely popular walks, there are also a number of cabins in which it's possible to spend the night within Lapland's remarkable forests. In the touristically developed central area, in which the Reindeerjoki River flows into the main river, there is one of the most beautiful and famous attractions of the Lemmenjoki National Park, the Reindeerjoki waterfalls. Although this is one of the park's most popular areas, it's sometimes possible to spot rare species of waterfowl. For those who travel here by boat in the summer months, it can be quite difficult to observe the local wildlife at close quarters. However, despite the popularity of this splendid park, the number of visitors here is relatively modest, even at the height of the tourist season. The picturesque beauty of the Revadaskongas waterfalls is a truly overwhelming sight, and one that never fails to fascinate. Thunderous waterfalls are typical of this landscape. Wild creeks plunge down the steep canyons and gorges. It's tempting to bathe in the crystal clear water, but the air and water temperature in this northern latitude is cool even in the summer months. The park is covered with snow for 7 months of the year. It is then that the temperature falls below freezing point and on average is between -8 and -18 degrees. The center of the Lemmenjoki National Park is calm. The river widens and the surface of the water is like a mirror. The 1950s marked a turning point in the history of this region as the landscape grew increasingly polluted by a growing number of gold prospectors. The industrialization of mining was a heavy burden on Lemmenjoki's fragile ecology. In order to prevent even greater damage, the region was finally designated as a nature reserve. The establishment of the Lemmenjoki National Park followed in 1956. Since then, it has grown from strength to strength. In 1994, at the park's northern entrance, an information centre was opened that also contains a detailed exhibition of the region. The Nyagulahti Information Centre provides a wide selection of tours that travel throughout the park. It also provides permits for those who wish to organise their own trips through this vast wilderness. The majority of visitors prefer the organised tours. Travelling by boat makes it particularly easy to enjoy the park's scenery. In several sections of the Lemmenjoki, especially on the northwestern side of Kultahamina, there are still traces of the former gold rush. The establishment of the national park not only served to protect its unique wildlife, but also secured the interests of the Sami people, and thus preserved an important part of Scandinavia's culture. In this area of Finland, the traditional lifestyle of Scandinavia's original inhabitants has been conserved right up to the present day. Various tensions that date back to the gold rush are now a thing of the past. Many Sami can still use the Lemmenjoki National Park to hunt and to breed reindeer. According to recent estimates, in the Finnish section alone, there are around 9,000 reindeer. The national park's wilderness extends into the neighbouring country of Norway. Even in the most extreme regions of the park, the needs of visitors are well catered for, especially in the western wilderness of Vaskolompolo, where simple cabins are provided. Around 6 kilometers from Lemmenjoki is a cultural and historical site of some interest. A marked trail leads to a rare wren annuitant sheath location, otherwise known as a porokampra. This, the most famous site in this region, is situated at Salevaara. Vital for Finland's economy are the huge resources of wood that it continues to exploit even today. However, reforestation is also high on the agenda. The diverse rivers, lakes, seemingly endless forests, treeless fjalls, and the extensive swamps characterize the scenery of the Lemmenjoki National Park and have created a remarkable landscape in the extreme north of Europe. The park's swamps consist mainly of apamur. These swampy plateaux are an ideal habitat for numerous rare animals such as the brown bear, the wolf, lynx and golden eagle. The cultural and economical development of Finland has been influenced by its forests more than anything else. Its 32 nature reserves are thus of great importance. As the largest national park in Europe, the Lemmenjoki Nature Reserve is unique. With its enormous and unspoiled areas of wilderness, this remarkable park highlights the captivating beauty of Scandinavia's natural landscape.